So how much does it really cost to self-publish a book? If you Google this answer, you're going to get every answer from free to tens of thousands of dollars. You'll also get a selection of so-called hybrid publishers and vanity presses pretending to be publishers, saying it's only one payment for all these services. But what's the real answer? Well, as someone who has published over 24 books since Kindle Direct Publishing first started, this is what I'm going to answer today. Hi, Novelteer. I'm Devlin Blake, novel writing and self-publishing expert, coach, published author, and former ghostwriter of 200 books, and self-publisher of 24. If you stick around till the end, I'll reveal the number one thing that nobody talks about that can make all the difference to your book. And for anyone who tells you that self-publishing a book is free, it's not. At least it shouldn't be. Publishing a book is a business, and it needs to be treated as one. If you're not willing to treat it as the business it is, please don't publish the book, because it hurts other self-published authors by turning readers away from self-published authors entirely. And I am going to use the words indie and self-published here interchangeably, because that's what you are. You are an indie author. You are an indie publisher. You are an authorpreneur, where each book is its own mini business, and no, I did not coin that word. Someone else coined that word. But let's talk about the expenses you can expect when you publish your book as an authorpreneur. Expense number 1, cover design. Whoever said don't judge a book by its cover has clearly never tried to sell a book. A cover is more than just a pretty picture. It's a promise to your reader as to what's inside the book. It's a picture, text, and tropes all working together to form a promising whole. The worst two things your cover can be is 1, amateurish, or 2, very different than all the other covers in this genre. This is why I never recommend doing a cover yourself unless you're a trained cover designer. Cover prices can vary greatly from around $50 for an image using stock photos or pre-made covers that fit your story, all the way up to custom image designs that can cost around $500 or custom illustrations that could cost thousands. Personally, I get my covers from getcovers.com, which is a Ukraine-based company that has always given me excellent covers in the past. I believe they have illustrators too, but I've never actually used them. I've only ever used the stock photo option. It usually runs about $100 when using stock photos. The second most important thing to buy your book is a developmental edit. This is crucial for new writers especially. A developmental edit is not a proofread. That comes much later, and yes, you're going to have to buy that too. But a developmental edit goes through your book and looks for things like clarity, ambiguity, tense agreement, structure, point of view, plot holes, character motivation, development, continuity, pacing, story arcs, use of dialogue and action, and most of all, if the book matches reader expectations. It's important that your developmental editor edits your type of book. Don't hire a horror editor if you're writing a romance. Some editors specialize, while others don't, and still others have genre limitations. For example, some editors won't do extreme horror or erotica, so check that out, and if you're writing one of those and they say they don't do it, don't ask them because they're still not going to do it. Developmental editors charge either by the word or by the page, and an average can be about $1,500 to $3,500 for a 70,000 word book. Expense number 3 is proofreading. Yep, back to that. After you get your book back from the developmental editor and have made the changes and are happy with them, it's time to send it to the proofreader. A proofreader is a human spell and grammar checker. It can be tempting to use software for this, but software, even that new AI stuff, still can't do it as well as a human proofreader. And even though you might not notice the mistakes, your readers definitely will. And even worse, they might mention it in the review or report the book for low quality. No one needs that at the start of their novel writing career. So for proofreading, make sure you use a native English speaker, preferably the type of English you speak, meaning if you speak British English, you need a British proofreader. While if you're American, you're going to need an American proofreader, because we do spell things differently. And it would be kind of odd for an American writing a book set in America to use British spellings. Proofreaders cost around $250 to $700 for 70,000 words. So expense number 4, a keyword search. Would it surprise you to know that Amazon is not a bookstore? It's a search engine. In fact, it's the world's 3rd biggest search engine in the world. And like any search engine, it works on keywords. However, it does not run on the same keywords that Google and YouTube use. It has its own keyword preferences. You can buy special software for it like Kindle Spy, Or you can hire someone with the software to run a search for you. That's the method I prefer. You can actually find people like that on sites like Fiverr.com. Look up Amazon or Kindle keywords to find a provider there. Expense number 5, Autoresponder service. Now this next one isn't 100% necessary for publishing a book, but if you plan on building a novel writing career, it's a good thing to have, and that is the Autoresponder service. An Autoresponder service is one of those pages where people can sign up for your newsletter and then you get to email them. Normally you'd send them a freebie for this, like a mini story. This is a great way to keep in touch with your readers so you can announce things like new books, Kickstarters, and Patreons. So expense number 6, and you may or may not need it. It's a specialty editor. So we're going to take a look at what a specialty editor does, and then you can determine whether or not you need one. There's an old saying to write what you know, and a specialty editor is a big part of that. It's fine to write outside your type, but research must be done, and this is one of the better ways to figure out that you didn't do something horribly wrong. Now, a lot of people call this a sensitivity editor, but that's just one type of specialty editor. Specialty editors are used anytime you're dealing with a culture, world, or condition that you have no direct knowledge of. Disabilities, other cultures, ethnicities, stories set in other countries, even jobs like police or a hobby like horses might need a specialty editor if you are not already part of that world or know someone who is. Specialty editor prices can vary drastically, but for the most part, they charge like developmental editors instead of proofreaders. So expect to pay around $1,500 to $3,500 for 70,000 words. In case you're wondering why I keep using 70,000 words, that's the length of an average book. Expense number 6, marketing. Marketing is what's going to elevate your book into a real business, into something you can actually build a career with. But many fiction writers make the mistake of marketing too early. If you're a novelist with only one book, then it's not worth marketing yet. This is because if your marketing takes off and you have no second or third book for your readers, you're back at square one with your marketing by the time you do. Having more than one book helps build your momentum and keeps your books in front of the readers' minds and selling. How much you spend on marketing is up to you, and it depends on what kind of marketing you do. But if you take out some ads on Amazon or Facebook, it only costs you a few hundred. But if you want to hire a company to do it for you, it can cost tens of thousands. And there's one more final expense, and I've saved it for last. After you hear it, you might ask why, since it's one of the first people you should hire before the book is even written. Who is it? It's a book coach. And as a book coach myself, I saved it for last because I didn't want to seem too salesy. But a book coach really can make all the difference to your book, especially when you're just starting out. I hired my first book coach over 15 years ago after the first disastrous book of 5 rough drafts. I had to start over from scratch and my book still wasn't any good. Hiring a book coach made all the difference to my work, and it's what enabled my writing to get better and eventually work as a ghostwriter. And that's exactly why I went into book coaching myself all these years later to help new books be born. A book coach's one-to-one program can vary wildly from $5,000 all the way up to $50,000, depending on the coach. But I actually have a group coaching program that you can get for a fraction of the price at the link below. Check that out.